Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, we look at the Whiskies and Bourbons to be released in the month of September. Run the video. Alright then folks, let's get into today's video, shall we? So if you haven't already, I mean this is the first time I've seen one of these whiskeys to look out for videos, go back and check the last few, because sometimes these whiskeys get delayed or they don't quite make it through distribution to be released in the months that they say they are. So there might be a little bit of a backlog, so some earlier videos are still relevant is what I'm getting at. With that being said, if you can at home, please like this video and even comment down below. It really does help the channel and the Whiskey Cove out, and it doesn't really cost anything. Just hit that like button there. And if you are new around here, this is an excellent time to become a subscriber, and I'll tell you why. It's because we are doing the 5,000 subscriber giveaway. All you need to do is be a subscriber and just pay attention to some of the updates into the current videos here as well. And then we'll be doing a 5,000 subscriber live stream giveaway. So we have 3 bottles on that subscriber list so far, and we'll also be adding another 3 to give us a grand total of 6. So the 3 bottles that we already have on this free giveaway, and we'll be adding another 3, one every 500 subscribers. We're close to 4,000 subscribers right now, so we will be announcing another bottle soon. So make sure you're paying attention. So the first one is the Old Forester Barrel Strength Single Barrel, and then secondly we have the 4-year Green Top Rye donated by Alex, and then lastly we have a Weller Antique 107. So one of these 3 bottles and another 3 could be yours. What do you need to do? You need to be a subscriber, and then you also need to put a submission in. So what we did was we placed that on the Whiskey Cove website. The link is down below in the description. You just need to go to the Whiskey Cove's shop there, and then you need to select the free entry to the giveaway, and then just fill out your details. Put the address that you want the bottle to be shipped to if you get it, and then just pay attention during the live stream that we'll do, or just go back and watch it afterwards, and then see if you've won, and then contact the Whiskey Cove via Gmail. We'll also be updating you folks as we continue through this, so we will keep reminding you how to do it. But definitely go over to the Whiskey Cove's website and make sure you submit your free entry. It's just the best way to keep it fair for everybody. Duplicate entries will be recognized then, and then both will be deleted. So don't do any duplicate entries. Like I said, completely free, and hopefully one of you folks can grab some fantastic whiskey. With that being said, let's get into today's video, shall we? So, as we always like to do on the Whiskey Cove's whiskeys to look out for, we'll do some core expressions, some really important bottles, and then we have a couple of honorable mentions at the end. And also the last 2 bottles, we will be providing you folks at home ways to win them as well. So there's ways that you can sign up for a lottery, and you might be lucky enough to win them. So let's talk about bottle number 1 here. And that is going to be the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged. So if you have been paying attention to the whiskey verse, you'll notice that for the first time in Maker's Mark's history, they are going to do an age-stated bourbon. So they've never done an age-stated bourbon. For 60 years, they were always able to just do a regular Maker's Mark. And it's only recently they've been kind of playing with their different expressions. But now they've ventured into the aged whiskey world. And this is going to be the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged. What is this? This is going to be a blend. 70% of this whiskey is going to be 11-year-old, and then 30% is going to be 12-year-old. So about 11 to 12-year whiskey, if you like. So this is going to be something close to, say, like maybe a Weller 12 would be really good to put that up against this. Weller 12 is 45% ABV or 90 proof. This is going to be 45.3% ABV or 90.6 proof. And I read somewhere, it's really difficult to kind of read through a lot of information on the internet, so sometimes I might get some of the stuff wrong, but I'm just utilizing all the information that's out there and then relaying it to you in a synthesized matter. So I read somewhere that this might actually be like the cask proof stuff, which would make it a really low cask proof. However, it could make a little bit of sense, because Maker's Mark go on to talk a little bit about they age their whiskey for about 6 years in their normal rick house, the ones that like they roll their barrels, and then they left them in kind of like their limestone rock rick house. And if you've ever done the tour, you'll see that it's kind of like almost built into the mountain there as well, and it probably doesn't get that hot because it's kind of backed up against the mountain. So if this is cask proof, it kind of makes sense because you're not getting as much as heat there to kind of account for Angel Share and the Devil's Cut there as well. Mash bill, there's only one mash bill with Maker's Mark, that is 70% corn, 16% soft winter wheat, and 14% malted barley. What set Maker's Mark apart is that they use the soft winter wheat Other people just use the regular wheat there as well. MSRP on this is going to be the most costly expression to date. MSRP is going to be $150. Depending on where you live, that may go up or down by about 20%. Here in Colorado, we generally see about a 10 to 15% increase on MSRP here. But definitely a very interesting bottle of whiskey to get your hands on. And just talking a little bit about from Maker's Mark's own website here, for more than 65 years, aging our whiskey for a decade plus wasn't something we did. Rod Samuel, 8th generation whiskey maker and grandson of one of the founders at Maker's Mark. It's not that we didn't believe it, we simply hadn't found a way to do it that didn't compromise on flavor and taste. Until now, he goes on to say, cellar aged embodies an older whiskey that is distinctly Maker's Mark. One rooted in challenge and convention, delivering new flavor experiences from the environment that surrounds us and building on a taste that's been generations in the making. To become Maker's Mark cellar aged, barrels of the distillery's classic distillates spend approximately 6 years aging in the traditional bourbon warehouses like we mentioned earlier on, where they endure the Kentucky climate and its temperature swings, season after season until they reach full maturity and can be called Maker's Mark. Barrels are then moved into the distillery's proprietary whiskey cellar for an additional 5 to 6 years of aging before blended to taste and bottle. So the proprietary aged cellar is that one that's kind of like built into the limestone rock there. And it goes on to say that exactly here. Built into the natural limestone shelf of the Kentucky hills, the cellar constantly cool environment slows down the tannic impact that occurs during the maturation, which allows the bourbon to develop a deeper, darker flavor, hidden depths, and no bitterness. So it makes sense. If you're aging in a really cold environment, you're not going to get higher proof whiskey. So it could potentially be cast strength. That has not been confirmed, but some folks on the internet did mention that as well. So that was Maker's Mark Cellar Reserve, and I won a bottle that I'm very interested in getting because anybody who watches the channel knows that I do like Maker's Mark a lot. However, let's roll on here, and the next bottle is going to be Tickle Bourbon Whiskey, 18 years. Coming in at 45% ABV or 90 proof. This is going to be a 700 milliliter bottle, so we're losing 50 milliliters, which when you get paying a lot of money for whiskey is a little bit of a deal, a big deal here. MSRP, I wasn't able to find the MSRP on this, but I was able to find the MSRP on the 17-year release that they did recently, and that was $250, which is quite expensive for a Tickle product, so expect this to be even more than that. Mash bill, 84 corn, 8% rye, and 8% malted barley is what it's assumed to be. So interesting, what I found out with this one is that they are calling it a bourbon whiskey, much like the 8-year bourbon that they released not so long ago. If you look back at the Tickle bottled in bond, they actually call that a Tennessee whiskey. And even the Tickle single barrels, they call Tennessee whiskey. So they're calling this a bourbon. I'm sure it still goes through the charcoal maturation process, or probably the Lincoln County process. So you might also be able to call it Tennessee whiskey, but that's not what they're calling this. They're calling this an 18-year bourbon whiskey. Like I said, it's probably going to be a lot of money. I didn't pick up the 17-year because $250 is pretty insane. However, I didn't hear great things about the 17, but I also didn't hear bad things. An 18-year bourbon, you're probably better off getting Elijah Craig. The Elijah Craig single barrels, which are around $170 if you can find them, instead of paying $300 for Tickle. But this could be really good. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. If you're someone who wants to splash the cash, like I said, about $300 is probably what you're gonna pay. So from Tennessee to Kentucky, we go to the Brown Forman distillery because it is that time of the year where we see the King of Kentucky start to be released. So this Brown Forman distillery is in Louisville, Kentucky. It is not the Old Forester distillery that is on Whiskey Row. So the release that they're doing this year is going to be aged 16 years. And this is going to be coming in at 62.5% or 125 proof. Definitely getting up there, as it always usually is. A 16-year product at quite a high proof makes for an interesting combo, that's for sure. Last year they released two different King of Kentuckys. They released a 15-year, which is $250, and then they released an 18-year, which is $350. So expect it probably to sit right between those numbers, probably about $300. Who knows, it might even go up a little bit. I guess we wait and see there. Mash bill is believed to be 79% corn, 11% rye, and then 10% malted barley, which is also really interesting. That's the same mash bill as the early times bottled and bond that they used to do before they sold it to Sazerac, and maybe that's why that early times is so good there. So for the 18-year last year, they put out only 250 bottles. For the 15-year, they put out 3,500 bottles, so only 3,750 total, so very limited. It doesn't go to many states. I believe Ohio might have a couple of bottles. I know they have it in the liquor lottery, and the surrounding states. Maybe they might produce a better kind of a better distribution this year. Maybe they'll get a lot more to add to that there as well. I'm never gonna find one of these, but if you're lucky enough to get one, do enjoy it, and that is the King of Kentucky. Next bottle, and we are going to Barrel Bourbon because they're back with a new bottle called the Barrel Foundation Bourbon. This is aged a minimum of 5 years and is a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys. Coming in at 50% ABV or 100 proof. This is a bit of a breakdown of different blended components from different states that they source whiskey from, and some interesting blends here. So let's take a little look here. So from Indiana, they sourced a 5, 6, and a 9-year whiskey. From Kentucky, they sourced an 8-year-old whiskey. From Tennessee, an 8-year-old whiskey. And then Maryland at 5 and a 6-year-old whiskey. With all those whiskeys combined and the math being calculated, the derived mash bill on this is going to be 73% corn, 23% rye, and then 4% malted barley. So quite a high rye percentage on this mash bill. So expect a lot of rye flavors here. MSRP is going to be about $100 plus. I didn't find the MSRP, but you can expect to probably pay that with every barrel product. And then, like I said, it's really interesting blends right now, because let's take a little look at some of these different states. So Indiana, of course, that's going to be MGP, so that's where they're sourcing that from. And then Kentucky, 8-year, that could be Bardstown Bourbon Company. I read on a Reddit thread that sometimes barrel sourced from Willet, but there wasn't really any evidence for that. But you never know. Also, they could have got it from like Green River or even Barton. But the one that really stands out, Tennessee, of course, is probably going to be George Tickle, but the one that really stands out is going to be Maryland. They sourced a 5 and a 6-year-old whiskey. I don't really know of that many distilleries in Maryland that have older distillate. Some of the distilleries I looked into, 1H Distillery, Ford Humley, and a Fiore Whiskey and Distillery, but I don't think any have really been around long enough to be able to produce a 5 and a 6-year straight bourbon. And I know you're probably screaming at the screens thinking, well, what about Sagamore? Well, they sourced a lot of stuff, and yes, they are putting out recently their own distillate, but they only make rye. They don't make straight bourbon whiskey. So if you know a distillery in Maryland that this could potentially belong to a 5 and a 6-year-old Kentucky, a 5 and a 6-year-old bourbon, then definitely let us know down in the comments, because that's perplexing me a little bit there. So with that being said, 750 milliliter bottle. This might be one that you might find on a lot of shelves, but it could be getting up there in price. I just said $100 plus because that's kind of like the bottom mark almost for the barrel bourbon products. Next up, we have the last 2 bottles that we talked a little bit about at the beginning, and I'm going to tell you how to get your hands potentially on one of these through a free sweepstakes. So first up is going to be the Four Roses Limited Edition. This is the yearly limited edition, and this year's, I guess, somewhat of a special one. It is the 135th anniversary. So this is going to be coming in at 57.1% alcohol. Right at the barrel strength or cask strength is what they use for that year. And the back label here goes on to say that this year's limited edition is an experience of subtle flavors and complex layers. Aromas of allspice, vanilla, and elegant oak mingle with a hint of cinnamon and clove on the nose. Rich layers on the nose. Rich layers of honey, vanilla, and rye spice are balanced with the flavors of ripe berries and pear that unfold and dissolve into a long, mellow finish. The result is a soft, smooth, and characteristically shareable. That was by Brett Elliott, the master distiller there, Four Roses. Here, so this is a blend of a couple of different versions of what whiskey they do down there. So this is going to be 4 bourbon recipes in total, a 12-year and a 16-year bourbon of OESV recipe, a 14-year OESK recipe, and a 25 OBSV. So Four Roses consists of 2 different mash bills with 5 different yeast strains accumulating in 10 different recipes, and they're just 4 of the ones that they're going to be using for this. So this is going to be coming in at an MSRP of $199. So how can you get in with a chance to win this? So from August 22nd to August 28th. So hopefully you're watching it in that timeline. I am filming this video on Thursday, August 23rd. So that it is still open, and yes, I have signed up. So you can go over to the Four Roses website and you can sign up for their limited edition sweepstakes. So winners will be contacted by September 7th. So make sure you get your ballot, or I guess your submission in by the 28th. Winners will be contacted on the 7th, and then this is only one of the main caveats, they're not going to send it to you. You do have to go down to one of their distilleries in Kentucky from September 15th to October 15th. So you have a month to get it from, well, I guess you have a month to get it from September or October there, and you'll know by the 7th. So you can make some plans, visit a couple of different distilleries if you do win, so it definitely might be worth it there as well. So don't forget, go over to the Four Roses website and then sign up for the sweepstakes. You'll be able to find this straight on their main page there as well. So then another bottle that you can kind of get your ticket in for to be able to chance to win this, and this is the Old Forester Birthday Bourbon. This is a blend of Kentucky straight bourbon whiskeys, and this is 48% ABV or 96 proof. If we look at the back label here, we can see that it is aged for 12 years in new charred oak barrels. This whiskey is distilled by us only. We are responsible for its richness and its fine quality. Its elegant flavor is solely due to the original fineness developed with care. There is nothing better on the market. Old Forester Birthday Bourbon is a fantastic bourbon. A lot of people have a lot of good things to say about it. Never tried it. So, maybe this year's the year I'll put my ticket in the sweepstakes. So this does have an MSRP of $169.99. So this is going to be, like I said, 48% ABV or 96 proof. The mash bill I was able to find was 72% corn, 18% rye, and then 10% malt barley, which is also the Woodford Reserve, some of the Woodford Reserve mash bills. It's also all owned by Brown-Forman. Aged 12 years, and 103 barrels were collected for this year's edition from Warehouse I and the 5th floor. So how can you be within an opportunity to get this? So if you're watching this on August 25th when this video comes out, excellent for you, because between August 24th and August 30th, go over to the Old Forester website and then look up some of the recent news that they have there, and you can enter into the sweepstakes. So what they'll do is that they'll let people know who've won by their email by September 2nd, and then you will have between September 8th to December 23. So quite a big window there to be able to go down to the distillery in Old Forester on Whiskey Row there as well. So you have a little bit more time with this one than you did with the Four Roses, but if you do enter, they will email you. So make sure you check your emails and maybe your spam emails too as well. And with a 10-12 year age statement, I'm sure this is just fantastic. Every year Old Forester just knocks it out of the park with these releases, and I'm sure this year is no different there as well. With that being said, we do have some honorable mentions before we finish off on today's episode. So first up is Bardstown Bourbon Company, and they're doing a collaboration with Goose Island up there in Chicago, which is a brewery. And every year Goose Island releases their bourbon brand County Stout, and you might have seen this on the channel a little bit on some of the store hauls that I do. So what they're doing is that they've aged their bourbon in Goose Island County barrels. So Goose Island is already, so they get their stout, they put it into a bourbon barrel, and then after they're pulling out their stout, and the whiskey will go into it. So it's kind of like a double or triple barreled experience, if you like. MSRP is going to range from about $160 to $200 there as well. Secondly, we have Bardstown Bourbon Company Batch 11 Discovery, back with another batch. MSRP in this bad boy is probably going to be about 140, 150, has been teetering up every year. ABV is going to be 59.5% ABV or 118.1 proof. And then also we have Blue Run Reflection 2 being released. Expect this between about $100 to $150. 95 is going to be the proof, or 47.5% ABV. And then lastly, we are going down to Texas, and that is because Garrison Brewers are back with their Cowboy whiskey. This is going to be aged a minimum of 6 years, but this is where it gets fun. The proof on this guy is going to be 140.9% or 70.45% ABV. So in that hazmat range, in that hot Texas desert there. So the MSRP on this is going to be about $250. It's going to come in a really nice wooden case there as well. And finally, before we leave today, if you are someone who are involved with a smaller distillery or someone who's involved with a craft distillery who would like to kind of get the new release out there, so to speak, let us know. Email down below is in the description. Let us know, and we'll bring it up on one of these releases for the whiskeys to look out for. So please let us know. We would love to do that for you folks. So with that being said, hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to sign up for that lottery free giveaway over on the website, and be sure you're subscribed as well, as you continue to watch the videos and then find out a bit more information on what bottles are going to be added to that. So as we say on this channel, as we drink through the world's whiskies one glass at a time, cheers.